Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Business of Becoming podcast. I am your host, Lori Kennedy, and this is episode number 62. And in today's episode, we are starting from scratch. We are rolling back the time clocks, and we're going to go right back to the beginning. I am often asked if I had to go back in time and start my business over again, what would I focus on? And you know what? The things I would focus on then are the same things I focus on now. It doesn't matter if you are a total business newbie or you're a seasoned veteran. This episode is a starting guide or a benchmark to make sure that you're focusing on the right things, because if you're anything like me, then you have a tendency to veer off track every once in a while. It happens to me every couple of months, where it's like I forget what we're supposed to be focusing on, and then I go off the rails on some shiny object. And then something happens to me. Mostly I feel anxious and overwhelmed, and I have a moment of clarity, and it's like, oh yeah, back to the basics. None of this needs to be complicated. There is a companion guide for this episode, which I highly recommend that you download over on the show notes at thewbh.com/62. Also, I'd love to know how you listen to this podcast. Are you walking? Are you driving? Are you working out? Are you grocery shopping? Do me a favor, snap a selfie and tag me over on Instagram. I am at Lori Kennedy Inc. I would love to see where you listen to the podcast. Okay, this episode is jam-packed with business building goodness. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to do this episode from the vantage point that you've just graduated. Whether you've graduated from Naturopathic College or health coach designation, or you just got your personal training certification, or you're like Reiki Level 1. We're taking this episode from the vantage point of a complete and utter newbie. So, congratulations, my friend. You are officially a CEO. Your diploma or certification still has that fresh paper smell, and you are raring to go, except you have no clue where you should actually start. Do you need a website? What about all the social media pages? Do you need to do YouTube videos? What about an email list? A funnel? What's a funnel anyways? Your mind is running a mile a minute with too many ideas, not enough support or direction, and you feel so much fear that none of this will work out like you've planned that it's sometimes hard to breathe. Oh yeah, I know those feelings well. If I'm being fully transparent, I felt that way this morning. And then I went for a 10K walk. I listened to Lil Beyonce, got me some nature, and now I'm good to go. So I'm not going to tell you not to worry. I'm not going to tell you not to feel those things, because that's not helpful. You will likely feel those things always. Just know that I've got you. You are not alone ever. I've created this guide to give you the 7 key areas to focus on when you are just starting out online, so that you can actually make progress, make money, and feel really good about yourself. I remember back in 2007 when I was first starting my career as a registered holistic nutritionist. I was still living in that holistic bubble, as I like to call it, where you are totally surrounded by and completely immersed in everything healthy, organic, holistic, and where you think that everyone must know what you know, do what you do, and that you have the secret to living a healthy and happy life. Not once did it occur to me that my professional designation was the tool of trade, and that I, in fact, needed to self-identify, think, and behave as a business owner, which I really want you to hear, entrepreneur. Oh, and in case no one told you this either, you are now officially an entrepreneur with a startup company. So let's define entrepreneur. It's a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so, right? I'm pretty sure that that's a great description. You can add in addition to financial risks, emotional risks, personal risks, the very fact that you are starting up your own practice, your own business, means that you are risking safety. You are risking security. You are risking relationships. You are risking sanity, right? Your health, your happiness, all of those things, because you believe in something greater. You believe in the potential of what your business and life could be, which is amazing. And that's not something that everyone is willing to risk. So right then and there, the fact that you are willing to make your no plan B commitment and you are willing to go all in and risk it, and that doesn't mean you have to quit your full-time job right now. It just means that you are making decisions where there is the potential for loss. And that's just the truth of it. And most people don't have the gumption, the tenacity, the resiliency in order to see that through. So when I graduated, I was in the holistic bubble without a clue that I even had a business. And it didn't take too long for the bubble to burst for me to realize that I didn't know what I was doing. And then the panic set in. It was like that voice in my head was on repeat. I don't know how to get clients, and what the heck do I do with them once I actually have some? Plus, like, Lori, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You look like you're 16 years old. No one's going to believe you. That's the other voice that was back then on repeat in my head. So if you have that same or similar voice, know that I totally get it. I've been there. I'm still there. The voice says different things now, but it's that voice is still there. The difference is I've done work to mostly know and believe and feel that that voice isn't truth. That voice isn't me. That voice is my ego trying to keep me safe. And because I'm an entrepreneur, I deal in risk every single day. And so it's only normal that that voice is incessantly there trying to keep me safe, because everything I do is a risky decision. Will it work? Will it won't work? I don't know until I try it, right? So it just makes sense. So if you have that same or similar voice, know that I totally get it. You're not crazy. So let's fast forward to the present day. Going from, me in 2007 and being in the holistic bubble, right now I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar professional development and business training company for alternative health professionals, and I work with a team of 10 people. I can take a month off from my business and have the machine still run smoothly and make money. # goals, right? Now let me tell you, I'm not any different than you. I started from scratch without any, and I mean zero, business, technology, sales, marketing, training. Everything we've built is because I took the risk, is because I risked investing in myself. I learned it, I implemented it, and then I made it better over time. And let me tell you, my friend, there is nothing stopping you from doing the exact same thing. So please remember to go and download the companion guide for this episode over at thewbh.com/62, where you can fill in the answers to some of the questions I'm about to ask you. Okay, let's start with instructions. The 7 key areas to focus on are in sequential order. It's important that you work through them one at a time. You're gonna be tempted to skip steps. You're gonna be tempted to skip the focus areas. Please don't. Schedule at least 60 minutes to go through each key area of focus. Give it the time that it deserves. I mean, man, this is your freaking business, right? Like, you gotta schedule time to think about your business versus just doing all the things all the time. Key focus area number 1, define your why. This is everything because passion is fleeting. There are days, lots of them, where you are not, hear me when I say this, you are not going to feel passionate. You are not going to feel creative. You are not going to have motivation to do the work, so you won't show up in your business. And if you're listening to me and if you're like, oh my God, Lori, that's me, I need you to keep listening to this episode. Having a very personal and selfish why is what will get your ass up at 5 a.m. in the dead of winter to work on your business. Your why is what's going to keep you focused and motivated when everyone else is playing outside on a nice sunny day. Your why is what's going to help drive you when it all feels like it's too much, which is going to happen a lot. A mistake most health professionals make is that their why isn't selfish. It's not personal. It's based on passion, external motivators, and helping others. So let's just confirm right now that your purpose on this planet is to transform lives. It's a given that you want to help others, but that purpose of helping others isn't always strong enough to motivate you day in and day out because that's your passion. And passion is fleeting. When I made my No Plan B commitment back in 2011, after I was already running my nutrition practice for 4 years, my why back then was to have time and financial freedom. My why was to be in charge of my own schedule and not be bound to clients' availability. That motivated the shit out of me. My why wasn't to cure candida. My why wasn't to work with 1 million people. My why was to not work at night. Like, it was small. It was time freedom and financial freedom. And that at that point in my life, because I didn't have the awareness of possibility, I didn't have the awareness of the bigness of what I could create back then, was my why was really small. It was to not work at night. It was to be able to pay my own bills without freaking out and have money and be able to put it away. It never occurred to me that, my why should be as big as it is now. And so that motivated me a ton. And over the years, my why has expanded to include having serious impact within my industry. But honestly, that alone doesn't get me out of bed. Because that's fleeting. That's never going to end, right? The impact never ends. There's no sort of deadline. And so what gets me out of bed at 5 a.m. daily is this: having a full-time housekeeper, traveling first class, being able to take my friends away for a weekend and pay for it all without thinking twice about it, being able to send my kids to private school without needing any bursaries or grants for them, having $1 million in the bank personally by the time I'm 40. That's motivating, right? And the catch is that without doing the work to transform lives, none of those things are going to happen. Achieving my why and transforming lives are not mutually exclusive. They are actually inextricably intertwined. I just used really big words right there. They are massively intertwined. One doesn't happen without the other. So here's some things to think about. And again, I urge you to go and download the companion workbook for this at thewbh.com/62, because in that workbook, I give you things to think about. And there's a bunch of questions that are going to help you to establish your own selfish why. Pick something that is so motivating to you that you are willing to sacrifice and give up almost everything else in your life in order to achieve it. It has to be super specific, that it's going to get you out of bed at 5 a.m. in the dead of winter. All right, key focus area number 2. Choose a niche. If your professional education was anything like mine, then you learned a little bit about a lot of things. Your education was broad, which is not helpful when it comes to growing a health practice online. So I'm going to define for you niche, which some people say niche, but it's spelled niche, and I'm Canadian and we say niche. So denoting or relating to products, services, or interests that appeal to a small, specialized section of the population. For example, when I started my holistic nutrition practice, I wanted to focus on candida. That would have been my niche, except weight loss ended up being my niche. That's a story for another time. So why is it critical for you to pick a niche? Because you should want to become an expert in something, and that something is your niche. When you pick a niche, which also you can change later and likely will, you're able to focus on your brand, your content, and offers for that specific niche, and taking it one step forward, the ideal client, which is the next key area of focus. If you don't pick a niche, if you don't drill down, you're going to find that it's really hard to get clients. Look, you might not have any idea what niche you want to focus on right now, and that's okay. Let me just say that whatever you choose now, you can change as your interests change. So please don't put so much pressure on yourself to pick the right niche. You can change it. So examples of niches would be thyroid, weight loss, autoimmune, arthritis, acne, infertility, detox, essential oils, emotional eating, back pain, sleep, menopause, running, yoga for prenatal, Pilates, things like that. So in the companion guide, which you can get at thewbh.com/62, I give you 3 questions to think about that will help you break down how to choose a niche. All right, key area of focus number 3, ideal client avatar. Who, all in capital letters, do you want to be an expert to? In other words, what kind of client within your chosen niche do you specifically want to work with, of which there are tens of thousands of them? Having a defined niche is awesome. Weight loss, autoimmune, arthritis, but you need to take it one step further and create what's called an ideal client avatar. This is a profile, literally a profile, a description of the specific type of quote unquote perfect client you want to attract and work with in your business. I can't even stress enough how important it is to have a clearly defined ideal client profile so that from that profile, you can create your brand, your message, your content, your program offers that attract, connect, and convert that specific person, of which there are tens of thousands of them. So for example, my niche when I ran my nutrition practice was weight loss. That's a huge niche, and within it there are so many different types of potential ideal clients. So my ideal client was a menopausal woman who wanted to lose 20 pounds or less without giving up wine and popcorn. I know my ideal client like the back of my hand. I can describe the likes, the dislikes, the core values, the thought patterns, the mindset stories, the daily habits, the buying habits, the family life, the preferences of my ideal client. I was obsessed and still am with knowing and feeling, because I'm an intuitive empath, feeling my ideal client. I knew her better than she knew herself. So it was easy for me to attract and build rapport with her because she felt like I was telling her story, even though I'm like 15 years younger than her. Does that mean that I never worked with men or any younger women? Of course not. I did sometimes, but my content and marketing was focused on and targeted to address the personal issues, challenges, fears, and desires that menopausal women had specific to losing 20 pounds or less. Think about it this way. Your entire business, literally every single thing you create and sell, is created to transform the life of a singular specific client, of which there are tens of thousands of them. So if you don't have a niche and you don't do the work to dive deeper and to define your ideal client avatar profile, your brand, your content, your sales offers will fall flat. As Marie Forleo says, when you're talking to everyone, you are talking to no one. Again, in the companion guide, you can go and get at thewbh.com/62. I give you some things to think about, some questions, some prompts to help you start creating your ideal client profile. All right. Key focus area number 4, create a clear and concise only/without statement. What's an only/without statement? Do me a favor. This might feel silly, but trust me on this and just follow the instructions. Set a stopwatch timer. Use your phone. I mean, if you're driving, do this later. Come back to this episode and do this later. And then I want you to, so you're going to set a stopwatch timer. You're going to use your phone and you're going to start it. And then you're going to say out loud to no one, I want you to explain what you do. I want you to time yourself. I want you to see how long it takes you to clearly and concisely explain what you do. So go ahead, pause the podcast, unless you're driving, come back and do this later, set the timer, start the timer, talk to yourself as if you were talking to someone else and start explaining what you do. Can you clearly and concisely explain what you do? It's totally okay if you get all tongue-tied because you're just starting out and it's not clear. And so this is why it's a key area of focus to create a clear and concise only/without statement. So only after you choose a niche and define your ideal client avatar will you be able to create this clear and concise only/without statement. This single statement goes on all of your platforms and in your About Me section too. So if you have a website or you're building one, it goes on the top of the site, right smack dab in the middle. This way, when a person lands on your site, they can self-select whether you, the expert, can help them or not. So this is my only/without statement for the Wellness Business Academy. The Wellness Business Academy is the only all-inclusive, lifetime accessible coaching program for alternative health professionals who want to create a signature program that sells on autopilot so that they can make money 24/7, have massive impact, and feel deeply fulfilled without having to invest in and learn technology platforms. Clear, concise, powerful. So in the companion workbook, guide, whatever you want to call it, that can be found at thewbh.com/62. I gave you a template so that you can create your only without statement. And so it goes like this. The insert name of business is the only niche focused, is the only weight loss program, Hashimoto's program for your ideal client, women over 40, who want, what's the one thing that they want? To lose weight without having to give up either without having to. Now here's a little bit of the tricky part. You want to list 3 things that they either don't want to give up or 3 things that they hate doing. So here's the example. I made this up using a client of mine, Alyssa, the name of her program. Love and Trust Your Guts is the only IBS-focused nutrition practice for people who suffer from constipation, diarrhea, IBS symptoms, and an IBS diagnosis or other painful poop problems who want to break up with the toilet and reclaim their life without having to rely on medications, pre-planning where the nearest bathroom is, and without living on a restrictive diet for life. When somebody asks you what you do, that is what you say. Clear, concise, powerful. So creating your own only/without statement will help you attract the right ideal clients and repel those people who don't fit the profile. Plus, creating this clear and concise statement will help you focus your own brand and content around attracting and serving these specific ideal clients. Key focus area number 5, be consistent with content. One of the most challenging things I see for new health professionals is the ability to consistently, as in weekly, create and publish quality, educating, and entertaining content. Whether it's because they are trying to be on all platforms at once and they can't keep up, or because they don't think that they are a good writer, or because they have no idea what to write about week in and week out. The reason you aren't consistent doesn't matter. What matters is that you figure out a schedule so that you can be consistent even before you build out a website or any program or service. Why? Because you're trying to build your reputation as an expert in your chosen niche. Experts teach things, experts offer value, experts help the masses. So if you are randomly publishing content and then disappearing for weeks at a time, that reflects poorly on you. And the person who is showing up on the regular, as in daily and weekly, will win. Not because they have better content than you, although they might, not because they are better at getting clients' transformations, but because they are doing the work day in and day out to remain top of mind. So choose one platform to learn and dominate it, and then focus on creating content on that platform that gets published consistently, preferably weekly and then daily depending on the platform. It doesn't matter if your content of choice is a blog, a video, or a podcast. Just pick one and focus on creating and publishing that media type consistently. All right, key focus area number 6. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice with your family and friends. Look, here's a truth for you. You need to practice and hone your craft. It's silly and just wrong for you to expect to be awesome at what you do right out of the gate. If you've never worked with a client before, of course you're going to feel nervous. It's totally normal to feel unsure of yourself because most of you listening, you've never done this before. So why would you feel sure of yourself? I mean, really, right? So you need to practice. You need to work out the nerves and the will this really work mindset monsters. And the best people to practice with are family and friends. What will you be practicing, you might be asking? Ask them if you can help them. Just be like, hey, I do this thing now. Can I help you? Even if they aren't your ideal client, it doesn't matter. You need the practice. Offer to help them with one specific health issue that they have. Put some tips and strategies together for them. Don't spend too long, though 3 to 5 hours per person max. Walk them through what you've created. There's no need to make it fancy or proper. A simple Word doc is good enough. Practice assessments, practice giving recommendations, practice following up. Provide links to the education that you've created. Get feedback. The point is to legitimize yourself and to get started by practicing. The goal is for you to have to present information, tips, and strategies to someone else. See if they can follow your instructions and your recommendations. Ask for feedback. Just practice. Don't overthink it. And if this is getting you like all frazzled and you're starting to like breathe heavy, I promise you it's going to be okay. Practicing with your friends and family and letting them know that you're just practicing alleviates the pressure for you to be any good. So that's why you should practice with your friends and family and even have them as your first clients, even if they're beta test clients and they don't actually pay. Do it for testimonials and do it for the practice. I want you to set a goal. Set a goal to practice asking questions, listening to answers, giving recommendations, tips, working with clients. Practice with 10 people over the next 60 days. And those of you that actually do this, I know you're going to win. You will win and you will go far in your business because I'm telling you, as someone who has a decade plus experience in this industry, I'm giving you a recommendation. And if you take me up on it and you actually do this and you go and practice, you will have the experience to then create more things that people want. And so take this challenge seriously. If you really want to build the business and life of your dreams all on your own terms, these are the kinds of imperfect actions that you're going to need to take. And last but not least, Key focus area number 7, have a money plan. When new health practitioners come into the Wellness Business Hub, which is our global community, one of the things I most often hear is, I need to make money now. And while I agree that making money is awesome, I love to make boatloads of money, and that it's something that needs to happen, I want you to understand that it's likely not going to happen immediately after you hang your diploma up on the wall. So you need to be prepared for that. Also, don't go and quit your full-time job just yet. Remember the definition of an entrepreneur, that it requires financial risk. You are starting up a company, and that requires startup capital. It really shocks me how many health professionals don't take this into consideration when they are taking their businesses online, or even when they're starting up in private practice offline. While I am not a huge fan of business plans or budgets, even at the beginning, it would be irresponsible of me as your mentor to leave this part out. You are starting a business, and that will require a financial investment, likely for years, until the business generates enough revenue that you can reinvest some of that revenue back into your business and pay yourself. So until you can pay yourself what you need to live and more, and reinvest additional profit back into the business, your business will always require some financial support. And so that might take you a year or 2 years or 3 years, depending on how much you need to pay yourself out of your business. And I know this advice might sound a bit different than what you might have heard, but I tell it like it is. The last thing that I want for you is to feel this heavy-duty burden of financial stress. And so when you are in a dire financial situation, as in you need clients to pay your bills, the clients can feel your desperation. When you need to make money and you're not able to truly come from a place of service and you are very much attached to the outcome, clients can feel that. I continued with my full-time personal training business while I was starting up my nutrition practice. I did them both until my nutrition practice made enough money that it covered my personal training pay. And then when I was transitioning into what I do now, I continued running my full-time nutrition practice for 2 years. I continued to run and grow that business, and I used that money to fund the new company, which is what I do now. And I had set a goal for myself. Only when my online coaching business made 10% more than my nutrition practice for 3 months in a row could I transition out of the nutrition practice and focus all of my time and energy on the new business. So I set a goal for myself. I didn't just say, oh, okay, I'm going to have one good month and I'm going to quit. I needed to make sure that I could do that consistently for 3 months in a row. And then I started to make the plans to shut down my nutrition business, which didn't happen for 3 more months. So I had literally 6 months of regular, consistent income from my online business before I was able to shut the doors. And so that was like 2 years I ran both full-time businesses at the same time. Why? Because I have 2 kids and a mortgage. I couldn't just quit my full-time job, which happened to be at that time my nutrition practice. So having a full or part-time job while you grow your health business doesn't mean that you are not all in. It doesn't mean that you haven't made your no plan B commitment. And it doesn't mean that you are not committed to doing whatever it takes to build the business and life of your dreams all on your own terms. It means that you're making smart business decisions. It means that you're taking yourself seriously and you're saying, okay, I'm starting a company. I have a startup. Startups require capital. How am I going to fund this new business venture? And while you might not think of yourself in the terms that I'm using, in terms of new business ventures, startup capital, funding, all of that stuff, that's what it is, right? Your professional designation is the tool of trade. You are a business owner, and businesses require profit. and startup capital and revenue, and they have expenses and all of that good stuff. And so I gave you some additional prompts. You can go and get the companion guide to this episode over at thatwbh.com/62. Okay, so there you have it. The 7 key areas to focus on when taking your health practice online. Don't overthink any one of them. They will change as you gain clarity and experience. The point is to take imperfect action and just get started. Thanks so much for listening, and if this was helpful to you, please do go ahead and forward it to a colleague who is in a similar situation as you, because rising tides lifts all boats. There's no such thing as competition, and if this helped you, I'm sure that you have colleagues that it can help as well. And please do remember to hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.